In a quaint little town nestled between rolling hills and vibrant fields, life moved at a gentle pace. The sun rose each morning, casting golden rays over the tidy houses and blooming gardens. It was the kind of place where neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles and children played freely in the streets. Among the townsfolk was a woman known simply as Clara. She was a familiar figure, always found tending to her flower garden or sipping tea on her porch. Clara had an aura of calm strength about her, quietly commanding respect without ever raising her voice. Her hair, streaked with silver, framed her kind face, reflecting the wisdom she had gained through years of experience. While she kept to herself most days, it was not out of shyness. Rather, it was her choice to cherish solitude and simplicity. She enjoyed long walks in nature, often visiting the nearby lake where ducks glided gracefully across the water's surface. Though Clara appeared unassuming, there were whispers in town about her past, stories that spoke of bravery and adventure. Some believed she had been part of something much bigger than the sleepy community they all knew. But Clara herself shared little about those days, preferring to focus on nurturing her beloved flowers and enjoying quiet moments with a good book. One autumn evening, as leaves danced through the crisp air like tiny golden butterflies, Clara ventured into town for supplies. The market was bustling with life. Vendors called out cheerful greetings while families chatted under strings of lights that twinkled like stars above them. Clara made her way through the crowd with grace, stopping occasionally to admire fresh produce or handmade crafts. However, this peaceful atmosphere would soon be shattered. Unbeknownst to Clara, a group of dirty thugs lurked nearby. They swaggered down the street, their loud laughter echoing against the brick walls. Their presence felt out of place in this serene environment, but Clara paid them no mind as she focused on selecting ripe tomatoes. She never could have imagined how quickly her tranquil world would be turned upside down by their unwelcome intrusion, especially when they decided to target her next. As Clara strolled through the market, the atmosphere suddenly shifted. A raucous noise echoed down the street, cutting through the gentle hum of conversation. The townspeople looked up, their expressions shifting from cheerful curiosity to unease. In the distance, 3 figures swaggered into view, rough-looking men clad in stained leather jackets and torn jeans. They reeked of trouble and mischief. The thugs strutted like they owned the place, laughing loudly as they shoved each other playfully. Their boisterous antics only drew frowns from the more reserved townsfolk. They'd clearly crossed into a world far removed from the peacefulness that Clara had come to cherish. With their tattoos peeking out from under their sleeves and harsh faces obscured by scruffy beards, it was evident that these were not friendly visitors. As they approached the heart of town, their laughter turned into crude jokes at the expense of anyone within earshot. One thug grabbed a fruit stand's display and sent apples rolling across the ground, much to the vendor's dismay. "What's this? Nothing but a bunch of old apples," he sneered, mocking the hard work of the locals. The other 2 joined in, throwing around insults and threatening a sense of safety that had always blanketed the town. Their intentions were clear. They wanted chaos and attention, leaving a trail of unease in their wake. But even as they expressed their intentions with loud bravado, there was an undercurrent of recklessness that hinted at deep-seated insecurity, an emptiness masked by aggression. While the townsfolk whispered among themselves, Clara continued her shopping, seemingly unaffected by the chaos unfolding nearby. She chose ripe tomatoes with care, but her instincts sharpened as she sensed rising tension around her. The thug's attention soon turned to her. She caught one of them sizing her up with a sneer. "Look at this lady," one thug shouted with exaggerated bravado. "What's she going to do? Water us with her garden hose?" The words dripped with contempt, unaware that Clara held secrets that would soon surface, a past filled with heroism and strength that belied her tranquil appearance in this quiet town. As the thugs approached, she felt a wave of both fear and determination rise within her, readying herself for what was to come. The tension in the market thickened as the thugs zeroed in on Clara. With a few swift strides, they closed the distance, stirring a mix of fear and curiosity among the townsfolk who stood frozen in place. Clara, sensing their approach, straightened up, her grip on the fresh tomatoes tightening just a fraction. Despite the nervous flutter in her stomach, she remained calm and composed, embodying the strength she had carried with her throughout her life. "Hey, lady!" one thug called out, stepping forward with a sneer plastered across his face. "What's a little flower gardener like you doing out here? Shouldn't you be at home playing with your plants?" The other thugs burst into laughter, their mockery echoing off the market stalls. Clara felt their eyes on her, trying to gauge her reaction and size her up. However, instead of flinching or retreating, she met their gaze directly, an unwavering calm radiating from her. "Just enjoying a sunny day and buying some fresh produce," she replied evenly, trying to keep her tone light. "You boys might want to clean up your act while you're at it." That only fueled their arrogance. The thug who had spoken stepped closer, invading her personal space and looming over her like a shadow. He jabbed a finger at her chest, emphasizing his words. "You think you can talk to us like that?" Without skipping a beat, Clara took a half step back, maintaining her balance while keeping her voice steady. "You can choose how you act, but if you want respect, you need to give it first." The other thugs looked momentarily taken aback by her defiance. Confusion flickered in their eyes. However, they quickly masked it with bravado. One of them shoved a shopping cart aside without regard, sending it clattering to the ground. "Let's see how tough you are without your little flowers." As Clara remained resolute, a rush of adrenaline surged through her veins. She knew the moment had come. These men had crossed into dangerous territory by underestimating her. There was a fire igniting within her, a sense of purpose and power that had lain dormant for too long. Clara took a deep breath, prepared to stand her ground, knowing the encounter was about to reveal the true strength hidden behind her quiet exterior. As Clara stood her ground against the thugs, a familiar voice echoed in her mind, reminding her of the years spent training and fighting alongside some of the bravest individuals in the world. She had not always been the flower gardener everyone knew. There was a time when she was known as Commander Clara Morgan, a legendary SEAL with a reputation for unmatched skill and bravery. Long ago, Clara enlisted in the Navy, driven by a fierce desire to serve her country and protect those who could not defend themselves. The rigorous training molded her into a formidable warrior, one who could navigate treacherous environments, outsmart opponents, and face fears head-on. From covert operations in hostile territories to rescue missions that tested her limits, Clara had faced danger at every turn. Each experience sharpened her instincts and taught her the importance of resilience and strategy. Her success on the battlefield earned her accolades and respect among her peers. But while she was honored with medals for valor, her heart remained tethered to something deeper, a desire for a peaceful life away from chaos and violence. After years of service, she made the difficult decision to leave that world behind, seeking solace in the quiet town where she could plant roots and nurture life instead of destruction. Yet, even in her retreat from that life, Clara never truly left behind the skills she had honed. Her training became an integral part of who she was, lying dormant but ready to awaken at a moment's notice. As she stared defiantly at the thugs before her, memories flooded back. The camaraderie with fellow soldiers, the adrenaline of each mission, and the unwavering commitment to protect those in need. Now, as their sneers turned into menacing grins, Clara felt a surge of energy flow through her, her past blending with her present. She remembered every lesson learned under fire and every battle fought for justice. The thugs had unwittingly crossed paths with someone they could never truly intimidate. In that moment, she realized it was time to channel that courage once more. She would not be a victim today, but instead rise as a protector once again. A legendary seal ready to confront whatever came next. As the thugs continued to jeer at Clara, she could feel their underestimation like a weight pressing against her. They had no idea who they were dealing with, and the thought ignited a spark inside her. The fire of her past experiences blended with the calm of her present, creating a potent mixture that urged her to take action. She took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs as she centered herself. With their insults ringing in her ears, Clara realized that silence wouldn't be enough anymore. She needed to show them exactly what lay beneath her quiet exterior. It was time to remind everyone, herself included, of the strength that had once defined her. With deliberate calmness, Clara stepped forward into the thug's space, a move that surprised even them. The laughter faded as their expressions shifted from bravado to confusion. "You think I'm just some helpless woman?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. "Why don't you find out what I can really do?" One thug scoffed and took a step closer, trying to intimidate her further. "What are you going to do? Throw some flowers at us?" Instead of responding with words, Clara's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, she dropped into a low stance, the posture of someone trained for combat. The twinkle of determination lit up her face as she positioned herself solidly on the ground. The change in posture caught even the thugs off guard. "Let me show you," she said softly but firmly, channeling all the courage and skill accumulated over years of training. In a swift motion that seemed almost choreographed, Clara executed a perfect maneuver, spinning on one foot while delivering an unexpected kick that sent one thug stumbling back into his friends. The others stood frozen in disbelief as their bravado melted away like snow under sunlight. Feeling the rush of adrenaline surge through her veins, Clara felt alive again. The woman they thought they could dismiss had transformed before their eyes into someone formidable. She could see panic flashing in their eyes as they finally recognized who stood before them. "No more games," she declared, scanning each face with unwavering confidence. "If you truly want respect here today, you'll have to earn it by facing me." The atmosphere shifted dramatically as the thugs found themselves confronted not by an easy target, but by a force ready to defend what was hers. A legendary seal prepared for whatever challenge lay ahead. With the thugs momentarily stunned by her unexpected kick, Clara seized the opportunity to show them just how formidable she could be. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, sharpening her senses as she recalled the countless hours spent training and honing her combat skills. She shifted into a low stance, ready for whatever move they would make next. The first thug, recovering from his surprise, rushed at her with a wild swing aimed at her head. Clara anticipated the attack. With lightning-fast reflexes, she ducked under his arm and pivoted to his side. In one smooth motion, she swept his legs out from under him with a well-placed kick. He found himself sprawled on the ground, disbelief etched across his face as he realized this was no ordinary woman. Seeing their partner fall, the remaining two thugs exchanged worried glances but quickly stepped forward to encircle Clara. They underestimated her calm demeanor as weakness, but even in close quarters, she had fought many battles before. With calculated precision, she kept her eyes focused on both men, assessing their movements like a hawk preparing to strike. One thug lunged at her from the left, while the other attempted to tackle her from behind. Clara dropped into a roll just as they struck out simultaneously. As she sprang back onto her feet, she was already several steps ahead. Using their momentum against them was one of the most valuable lessons she'd learned in training. With perfect timing, she executed a swift reverse elbow strike against the first thug's jaw as he turned to pursue her, sending him reeling backwards into a fruit stall. The loud crash of wood and splatter of fruits drew gasps from onlookers still frozen in shock. Now facing only one remaining thug, who hesitated and faltered, Clara's confidence soared. She moved forward deliberately, forcing him back with every step he took until he was cornered against a market stand. "You wanted respect," she said firmly but calmly. "This is how you earn it." Just as he raised his fists to fight back, Clara feigned a step sideways and then landed a quick series of strikes, a punch followed by an uppercut, which knocked him off balance before delivering one final tactical blow that sent him crashing down beside his accomplices. With all three thugs incapacitated around her amidst scattered produce and broken crates, Clara's heart raced, not from fear but from exhilaration. The townsfolk erupted into applause and cheers, their faces reflecting amazement at the power of this once quiet woman, who stood strong when it mattered most, a protector who had revealed her true strength through skill and strategy. The atmosphere in the market crackled with tension as Clara faced the remaining two thugs, their bravado quickly replaced by uncertainty. The stunned townsfolk watched in awe, their eyes wide as Clara took a breath, ready to unleash her training and experience in this thrilling showdown. The first thug, regaining his composure, charged at her with a wild swing. Clara sidestepped effortlessly, allowing him to stumble past her. With the momentum of his attack now working against him, she executed a swift backfist that connected solidly with his temple. He staggered sideways before collapsing into a nearby vegetable stand, scattering tomatoes and carrots everywhere. Before the second thug could react, Clara pivoted gracefully on her heel and launched herself forward. As she approached him, she feigned a strike to his midsection. When he instinctively lowered his guard to block it, Clara swiftly changed course. Instead of going low, she leapt up and delivered a powerful kick to his head. He fell backward onto the ground like a rag doll. With both thugs incapacitated at her feet, Clara felt a rush of triumph surge through her body. The cheers from the townspeople grew louder as they began to process what they had just witnessed. A woman they thought was unassuming had outsmarted and overpowered not one but two aggressive attackers. But there was still work to be done. One thug remained, reeling from shock as he watched his companions groan on the ground beside him. Fear replaced arrogance in his eyes as he hesitated in front of Clara. Sensing an opportunity, she moved closer but maintained her stance of readiness. "Do you really want to keep going?" she asked, her voice steady yet calm. The thug glanced around at the scene, his friends defeated and those he sought to intimidate now emboldened by Clara's actions. He took a step back, uncertainty clouding his judgment. Clara seized the moment. "You've had your fun, now it's time to leave," she commanded firmly, With one last desperate attempt, he lunged toward her again, but found only air as Clara dodged expertly once more. This time, with precise footwork learned during countless training drills, she countered by grabbing his arm and twisting it behind his back before bringing him down onto the ground with a controlled force. As he lay there defeated and gasping for breath, it became clear that Clara had triumphed completely over all three thugs who had dared to threaten her peace. The market erupted in applause and cheers for their unexpected heroine. She stood tall amidst shattered crates and scattered produce, embodying both strength and grace, a protector who had reclaimed control over her community through skill and determination. As the dust settled in the market, the townspeople gathered around Clara, their faces a mix of awe and admiration. No longer were they merely passive observers. They had just witnessed an extraordinary display of strength and skill from someone they had always seen as the quiet flower gardener. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, each person processing what had transpired in their own way. "Did you see that? She took them down like it was nothing," one man exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I never knew she could fight like that." Another woman chimed in, recalling Clara's gentle nature. "She always seemed so soft-spoken. Who would have thought she's a warrior?" Curiosity turned to admiration as more townsfolk approached Clara, eager to hear her story. Children, previously frightened by the chaos, now looked up at her with hopeful eyes, seeing not just a protector, but a role model. They had always admired her vibrant garden and the way she tended to it with care. But now they saw a woman who could stand tall against those who threatened their home. One elderly gentleman stepped forward, his demeanor respectful. "Commander Morgan?" he said earnestly, using the title he had heard whispered among the townsfolk. "You've done our town proud today. We owe you gratitude for defending us." Clara smiled, feeling a sense of warmth wash over her. "Thank you," she replied softly. "I may have been quiet for a long time, but I would always stand up for what is right." As Clara spoke, the realization began to sink in. The townspeople were learning about her past as a SEAL. Just beyond the tranquility of her garden lay stories of bravery, training, and sacrifices made in service of others. They began to connect the dots. The strength in her resolve mirrored the strength in her combat skills. The discussions soon turned from shock to celebration. They gathered around Clara, sharing their thoughts and asking questions about her experiences. "What was it like?" one child asked with bright eyes. Others chimed in with enthusiastic inquiries about her training and missions. As the laughter and chatter filled the air, it became clear that everything had changed. Clara was no longer just the quiet woman of the town. She had revealed herself as a fierce protector and a source of inspiration. The townspeople's respect for her deepened as they recognized that behind her calm exterior lay an extraordinary history, a legacy of courage that now intertwined with their lives in profound ways. Together, they could build a stronger community united by admiration and newfound understanding of their courageous neighbor. In the days that followed the confrontation, the town transformed in ways that Clara had never imagined. The marketplace, once filled with whispers of uncertainty and apprehension, now buzzed with stories of her courage. People who once only exchanged polite nods began to seek her out, eager to share their admiration for the woman who had defended them. Children approached her, their eyes wide with wonder as they asked questions about her past. "Did you really fight in battles?" one little girl asked, her voice filled with awe. Clara smiled softly and replied, "I did what I had to do to protect others, just like I did for you all." Adults also began to see Clara in a new light. Neighbors who had always seen her as simply the kind woman tending her flowers now acknowledged her bravery. Conversations around town shifted. It was no longer just about the weather or the latest gossip. Instead, people talked about strength and resilience, often referencing Clara's actions as a source of inspiration. "Clara's a hero," an older gentleman declared at the local diner, raising his coffee cup in a toast. "She showed us that anyone can be strong when it counts." Others nodded in agreement, their eyes reflecting newfound respect for their once quiet neighbor. The local grocery store began displaying a small bulletin board dedicated to Clara, where townsfolk shared notes of appreciation and thankfulness. Some wrote poems, while others sketched images of her standing tall against the thugs. Each note illustrated how her courage had resonated with their own lives, encouraging them to face challenges head-on. As Clara walked through town, she felt a shift in the air around her. People greeted her more warmly, offering smiles and small gestures of kindness, like holding doors or offering assistance with groceries. The camaraderie that developed among the townspeople was palpable. They were united not just by admiration for Clara, but also by a shared sense of safety and empowerment. On weekends, families would gather in the park to hear Clara speak about resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself and others. She became an unexpected leader in their community, someone who taught that true strength isn't just about physical power, but also about moral courage and compassion. Through it all, Clara remained humble. She appreciated the newfound respect and camaraderie, but never sought the spotlight. Instead, she continued to tend to her garden and embrace the peaceful life she cherished, while knowing that she had become much more than just a quiet woman in a small town. She had become a symbol of bravery, inspiring others to uncover their own strength within. As the sun set over the peaceful town, casting a warm glow on the gardens and homes, the events of the past few weeks resonated deeply within the community. Clara's transformation from a quiet woman to a courageous protector had inspired not only admiration, but also a profound shift in perspective. The townspeople learned that strength comes in many forms, often hidden beneath the surface and unrecognized, until bravery calls it forth. Clara's story served as a powerful reminder that true heroism can be found in the most unexpected places. For years, she had been seen merely as the sweet lady tending her flowers, an image that had masked her extraordinary past. The thug's attack had shattered that illusion, revealing her remarkable skills and fortitude. The townsfolk discovered that beneath her gentle demeanor lay a warrior, someone who had faced real-life challenges and chosen to fight for others in their moments of need. In discussing Clara's bravery at social gatherings and town meetings, residents realized how important it is not to judge others based on appearances. They began reflecting on their own biases and assumptions, embracing a newfound understanding of each person's unique story. Today, we learned that every one of us has our battles, one resident remarked during a community gathering. We must support each other and recognize the strength within. As conversations flowed, Clara found herself surrounded by neighbors eager to share their experiences and fears. She encouraged them to channel their inner strength and confront challenges head-on. Her presence inspired them all to be more courageous in their own lives, whether it meant standing up against unfairness or offering kindness to those who seemed vulnerable. With every step she took around town, Clara felt empowered, not just by her own journey, but by the journey of those around her. Her heroism sparked a collective sense of responsibility within the community, a commitment to protect one another while celebrating individual uniqueness. The town emerged from these trials with greater unity and respect for each other's differences. Together, they cultivated an environment where voices were heard and everyone was valued, transforming their small community into one illuminated by compassion, courage, and empowerment. As Clara returned home each day to tend her garden, she did so knowing that she had made a lasting impact far beyond what she ever envisioned. She was no longer just the quiet woman. She was a beacon of strength and wisdom who reminded everyone that true heroes walk among us every day, often in disguise. And sometimes it takes courage from outside forces to help us uncover our hidden greatness, allowing us all to shine brighter than we ever thought possible.